Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, you know those videos online? The ones that are somehow, like, totally mesmerizing.
Uh-huh.
Like, maybe a bit gross, but you just can't look away. We're talking skin extractions,
Mm-hmm.
blackhead removals, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the satisfying ones. They definitely have a strange pull, don't they?
Totally.
Oh.
You get drawn in, maybe you feel a little bit squeamish, but you keep watching.
Right.
But here's the thing. What if what you're seeing isn't, well, isn't the whole story? Or even the safest way to do things?
That's exactly it. There's a big gap sometimes between the satisfying visual and the medical reality behind it. What looks simple often isn't.
Precisely. So today, that's our mission. We want to, peel back the layers on that. We're diving deep into the world of dermatology, specifically reacting to some of this popular skin stuff you see everywhere online.
And we're using insights from a board-certified dermatologist's take on these kinds of videos.
Yeah, exactly. So the goal is to really unpack what's happening, flag the potential risks you might not even think about, and deliver the actual medical advice behind those, well, captivating visuals.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so probably the most common ones are the pimple pops, the extractions. We've all seen them.
Oh, yeah.
They look so, I don't know, efficient. Like you use a Q-tip or some pointy tool, and boom, it's out. So clean.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever tried tackling something like that yourself at home, it's rarely that smooth.
Definitely not. And a huge part of why it looks so smooth in those videos is the prep work that's often missed.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Well, the dermatologist pointed out these procedures nearly always come after something like a chemical peel or maybe using a hot towel or a facial steamer.
Right.
It's not just pampering. Those steps actually help loosen everything up inside the pore, makes the extraction itself way easier and less damaging to the skin.
So without that setup, you're basically starting from behind.
Exactly. You're missing the foundation that makes it look efficient, as you said.
And it doesn't look totally painless either. You see the aftermath, redness, maybe a little bit of blood.
Yeah, the source is clear. It's not the most comfortable procedure. There can definitely be some discomfort, some irritation. But, and this is key, when it's done right by a professional and then combined with good aftercare and, the right ongoing skincare routine, the results can actually be quite good.
Okay. So it can lead to fewer breakouts down the line.
Yes, and potentially improve the skin's texture, tone, color, that sort of thing.
Interesting. Now, we usually see this on the usual spots: cheeks, chin, nose, forehead. But you mentioned something surprising earlier the source talked about: earlobes.
Yeah, that was interesting. It's not the first place you think of for blackheads, maybe?
No.
But apparently earlobes have a lot of sebaceous glands, so they can get oily, and the dermatologist mentioned cysts are pretty common there too.
Huh. So what helps there?
Yeah,
Same kind of stuff.
Pretty much. Topical treatments, things with retinol, maybe glycolic acid wipes, salicylic acid cleansers. They can help manage the oil and prevent buildup there, just like on your face.
Okay. And speaking of different types of blemishes, the videos tend to just lump them all together, don't they?
They do.
But the dermatologist made a really clear distinction between blackheads, whiteheads, and something else: sebaceous filaments.
Right.
Why is that difference so important?
Oh, this is crucial because people confuse sebaceous filaments with blackheads all the time.
Right.
Blackheads and whiteheads, those are actual acne. They're blockages, things you might want to address. But sebaceous filaments, they're totally different.
How so?
They're normal parts of your skin's structure. Everyone has them. They're like tiny pathways for oil to reach the skin surface. The dermatologist was really clear. If you squeeze them out, they will come back, because they're supposed to be there.
Wow. So wait, people might be trying to extract something that's actually healthy.
Exactly. That's the shocking part. You could be fighting your own skin thinking you're clearing a blackhead when it's just a normal filament.
Okay, that's a big takeaway. So if we're not attacking our healthy filaments, we're about preventing the actual problems, the real breakouts. What did the source recommend?
For long-term prevention and just improving skin quality overall, the go-to topicals mentioned were retinol, salicylic acid, and glycolic acid.
The familiar ingredients.
Right. They help with cell turnover, exfoliation, keeping pores clear, managing oil. But a really important warning was don't use them all on the same day.
Too much irritation.
Yeah, you need to introduce them carefully into a routine. And, for really severe cases, lots of inflammation, tons of whiteheads, the dermatologist said sometimes a patient might need something stronger, like Accutane, which definitely means you need to see a professional, not just keep trying things at home.
Got it. Okay, so that covers the face. But if you thought that was complex, let's shift gears slightly higher up to the scalp. This was something our source called new stuff for their channel reactions dealing with scalp, scabs, and scales. It feels like a less common topic in these viral videos, maybe.
Definitely less common and often potentially more serious than just a pimple. It's not just dandruff or dry skin we're talking about necessarily.
So what causes these scabs and scales on the scalp? It sounds like it could be a few different things.
A whole range, actually. And that's why just picking them off is such a bad idea. You need to know the underlying cause. It could be anything from, say, an infection to something much more concerning.
Okay, let's break that down. What about infections?
Well, one possibility is impetigo. That's a bacterial infection, strep usually. You'd see oozing, weeping, and it forms this characteristic sort of honey-colored crust. Another one is taenia, which is basically ringworm. It's fungal. And the really critical thing here is if that fungus gets down into the hair follicles on the scalp, topical stuff, shampoos, creams often won't cut it. You usually need internal oral antifungal medication to clear it properly. And the dermatologist mentioned this is actually more common in kids than adults, especially if there are pets around that go in and out.
Ah, interesting link. Okay, so infections are one category. What about inflammatory conditions? I imagine that's a big one too.
Huge. Absolutely. You could be looking at really bad psoriasis. Sometimes it weeps quite a lot on the scalp. Or it could be severe eczema.
Like an allergic reaction.
Sometimes, yeah. Maybe a bad reaction to a hair product. It can almost look like a poison ivy reaction, weeping, almost blistered skin.
Ouch.
Then there's seborrheic dermatitis. That's basically the medical term for dandruff, but it can be more severe. You get this yellowish, kind of greasy looking scale. Sometimes it's really stuck on, other times it flakes off easily.
Okay. Any other specific scalp conditions causing this?
Yeah, a couple more mentioned. One is called pityriasis amiantacea. That's where you get this really thick, matted scale that's sort of wrapped tightly around the hair shafts.
Right.
And sometimes the scab might just be, a cyst or a little abscess that drained and dried up.
Okay, that covers a lot. But then the dermatologist brought up something really serious. This feels like the hidden danger part.
This is absolutely the most critical point. That scab, that scaly patch, it might not be benign at all.
What could it be?
It could be a precancerous lesion, or it could even be actual skin cancer, like a basal cell carcinoma.
Wow. On the scalp?
Yes. It's the most common type of skin cancer, and the scalp gets a lot of sun exposure, especially in parting lines or areas with thinner hair. The source specifically mentioned a pink coloration underneath the scab as a major warning sign.
So just picking off the scab
is dangerous because you're not treating the underlying problem. If it's cancer, it'll just grow back, and you've delayed diagnosis and treatment.
That really puts those satisfying scab-picking videos in a different light.
Completely.
So the risks of trying to remove these yourself, or maybe even letting a barber do it, like the source mentioned, it's not just about pain or irritation.
No, it can be painful, it can cause more irritation, even risk ingrown hairs. But the absolute biggest risk, you're not getting a diagnosis. You have no idea what you're actually dealing with.
Right.
The dermatologist said they only remove scabs like that in the clinic if it's an isolated spot, and they specifically suspect skin cancer underneath, usually so they can do a biopsy. It's about figuring out the why.
So it always comes back to the underlying cause.
Yeah.
If just pulling off the scale isn't the answer, what is the professional approach? How do you treat what's going on underneath?
Exactly. You treat the pathology, not just the symptom. So for managing things at home, if you do have a diagnosis, there are helpful products. Salicylic acid shampoos were recommended.
What do they do?
They're really good at helping to dissolve scale and loosen up those stubborn, stuck-on bits. Vichy Durcos was mentioned as having a good leave-in treatment with salicylic acid.
Okay. And for the greasy yellow scale, the dandruff type?
For seborrheic dermatitis, pyrithione zinc shampoos are a great option. CeraVe makes a highly recommended anti-dandruff shampoo and conditioner with it.
Right. Ketoconazole shampoo is another effective one for that. You can get it over the counter or prescription strength. And for really tough, stubborn scale, there's a specific product called Baker's PNS solution that was mentioned.
And you said earlier, sometimes topicals aren't enough.
Right. Specifically for those fungal infections, the tinea that gets into the follicles, you really need oral antifungal medication. Topicals just won't penetrate deep enough. It's a systemic problem needing a systemic fix.
Okay. So bottom line, if someone finds a persistent scab or a weird scaly patch on their scalp, what's the number one thing they should do?
Get it checked out by a professional. See a dermatologist.
Simple as that.
Absolutely. Especially if it's a distinct lesion with a lot of scale, or if, heaven forbid, a barber picks something off. You need a diagnosis. You need to know what it is to treat it properly and, crucially, to rule out something serious like skin cancer.
Yeah.
Often better scalp hygiene with the right products can prevent some buildup, but you have to know what you're aiming for first. This whole deep dive really changes how you look at those videos, doesn't it?
It does.
The big takeaways for me are really understanding what's actually going on with different skin issues.
Yeah.
Not just assuming. And seeing how vital prep and aftercare are for things like extractions.
And critically, how diverse and sometimes genuinely worrying the causes behind scalp issues can be. It's not always just flakes.
Definitely reinforces the need to see a board-certified dermatologist, right? For a real diagnosis and treatment plan, especially if something's persistent or looks suspicious.
Absolutely. Whether it's face or scalp, just removing the surface thing like a scab or a pimple doesn't fix the root cause. And sometimes, like we discussed, that root cause is serious. The message is clear. Don't just pick, get a diagnosis.
Couldn't agree more. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? When you see compelling, maybe even alarming health stuff online, what steps can you take? How do you make sure you're actually informed, not just entertained? How do you tell the difference between satisfying watching and what's actually safe and effective? Something to definitely think about.